Greetings everyone, my name is Gigi and this is Let's Build, where I build a Lego set timed to different media and talk about the facts concerning the topic of the build. Today's topic is Lego Optimus Prime versus the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon. I will not be playing any of the audio for the cartoon for copyright reasons. The footage I captured from playing this show is for science and educational purposes only. The following includes spoilers for the 1980s animated film and cartoon show. You have been warned. Starting out with the Lego set specifications. Optimus Prime, leader of the heroic Autobots, and now an impressive 2-in-1 Lego build for Transformers fans. Awaken your passion for the Transformers universe with this rewarding building project for adults as you craft all the details of this iconic robot. Hiding in plain sight. Just like the beloved original, this Optimus Prime model converts from a robot to a truck and back again. Admire the 19 points of articulation in robot mode and open the chest chamber to store the Autobot Matrix of Leadership. Attach the jetpack in robot mode and place the ion blaster and Energon axe in the Autobots' hands. Other authentic accessories include an Energon cube and optional waist panel. Add the plaque to display your passion for Transformers with pride. Welcome to your zone. Spend quality time with premium Lego buildable model sets for adults. This set makes an immersive project for you or a top gift idea for anyone who loves Transformers collectibles. Build a Transformers icon. Enjoy quality time crafting with all the details of this Lego Optimus Prime model. Converts from robot to vehicle. Just like the much-loved original, this Lego Optimus Prime replica switches between a robot and a truck. Authentic accessories. Relive Transformers sagas with accessories that include the Ion Blaster, Autobot Matrix of Leadership, an Energon axe, Energon cube, and jetpack. For Transformers fans, this Lego Optimus Prime collectible model is designed especially for adults looking for their next immersive project. Display with pride includes a display plaque so you can display tribute to your passion for Transformers. 19 points of articulation. Explore all of Optimus Prime's movements. Open the chest chamber to store the Autobot Matrix of Leadership. In truck mode, the model measures over 5.5 inches high, 10.5 inches long, and 4.5 inches wide. In robot mode, the mode stands over 13.5 inches tall. A project for adults. This Lego set is part of a range designed for adult building fans who love stunning design, intricate details, and elegant architecture. Quality materials. Lego building bricks are manufactured from high-quality materials. They are consistent, compatible, and connect and pull apart easily every time. It's been that way since 1958. Safety ensured. With Lego pieces, safety and quality come first. That's why they're rigorously tested, so you can be sure that this model is robust. Autobots convert and roll out. What started off in 1984 as a series of toy robots that could quickly change into other forms became a global cultural phenomenon encompassing comic books, video games, animations, and live-action blockbuster movies. It's little wonder generations of fans continue to follow the epic battles between the Autobots and Decepticons for control of the planet of Cybertron and beyond. This LEGO model of Optimus Prime, the charismatic leader of the Autobots, is the first time the Transformers universe is represented in LEGO brick. Enjoy! Optimus Prime, the true hero of the Transformers universe, is Optimus Prime, a powerful leader defined by his strong moral character and heroic feats on the battlefield against his arch-enemy Megatron and the Decepticons. He carries the Matrix of Leadership, an ancient artifact that gives him upgraded abilities and knowledge of all Cybertronian history. There may be faster Transformers with more potent firepower, but everything else in the stats reinforces Optimus Prime's position as a dedicated leader and fearless warrior. One shall stand, one shall fall. Just like the original toy, this LEGO model of Optimus Prime is capable of turning from robot mode to truck mode and back. It also comes with many of his iconic accessories: an ion blaster, Energon axe, jetpack, and the Autobot Matrix of Leadership. It also has an Energon cube to give him energy to battle his evil foes. From the LEGO design team. Transformers was what inspired me to become a toy designer. I was so very excited to use LEGO bricks to bring Optimus to life. There were many challenges in designing this model to make it both stable, dynamic, and faithful to the design of Optimus. The most fun challenge, however, was getting him to change between modes without disassembly. To do this, I build block shapes of the major components, adjusting proportions to match both the robot and the vehicle. The transformation had to be as simple as possible without compromising the look of either mode. Joseph Patrick Kyde, Senior Designer. Transformers Generation 1, also known as Gen 1, is a toy line from 1984 to 1990, produced by Hasbro and Takakura Tomy. Inaugurating the successful Transformers toys, an entertainment franchise, the front line of toy robots could change into an alternate form, vehicles such as cars and planes, miniature guns or cassettes, animals, and even dinosaurs, by moving parts into other places. The line was originally called the Transformers, with Generation 1 originating as a term coined by fans of the toys when the Transformers Generation 2 toy line was released in 1992. Hasbro eventually adopted the term Generation 1 to refer to any toy produced in that era. The Transformers started as a joint venture between Hasbro of the United States and Takara of Japan, after an idea to rebrand and sell Takara's Diaclone, and micro-change robot toys as a whole new line with a new concept behind it, developed by Hasbro's partners at Marvel Comics. Hasbro ultimately created what would be one of the longest-running and most popular franchises for both companies. Starting in 1984, the line ran for 7 years in America and 8 in Europe and Japan, though Takara would break up the line into multiple sub-franchises. In 1983, Hasbro representatives were sent to the Tokyo Toy Show, a toy expo in Japan, in search of prospective toys that they could import to the North American market. At the time, Japanese toy manufacturer Takara was showcasing several transforming robot toys from lines such as Diaclone and Microchange. Hasbro bought the rights to produce the toys, but decided to release them under a single brand to avoid confusing the market with several series with similar premises. Other toy molds from other companies, such as Bandai, were used as well. Prior to the Hasbro deal, Takara briefly sold Diaclone toys in specialty toy shops in the US under the Diacron moniker, while some in parts of Europe, Diaclone enjoyed a small following with a comic book series for that market. Hasbro had a business relationship with Marvel Comics, which had successfully produced the Hasbro tie-in comic book G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, based on the Hasbro action figure G.I. Joe. Marvel was approached once again to provide a backstory for the new toy line. Marvel editor-in-chief Jim Shooter created an overall story, and editor Bob Budiansky, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, I apologize, created the names, short descriptions, and profiles for the characters. The designs for the original 28 figures were made by renowned anime, character, and mecha designers Soji Kawamori and Kazutaka Miyatake. When the toy line was released, it was supported by the Marvel Comics series, an animated television series, and a gamut of other merchandising tie-ins. The 1986 feature film, The Transformers: The Movie, generated over $5 million at the U.S. box office. The premise behind the Transformers toy line is that an individual's toy's parts can be shifted about to change it from a vehicle, a device, or an animal to a robot action figure and back again. The franchise's taglines, "More than meets the eye," and "Robots in disguise," reflect this ability. The Transformers plot has two factions of sentient alien robots, the heroic Autobots and the villainous Decepticons. These factions are known as Cybertrons and Destrons in Japan, respectively, although the English terms are better known worldwide. Both sides are from the race called Transformers, robots that can change into vehicles, mechanical devices, and even animal forms. They have waged civil war for eons on their home planet of Cybertron, a war that had started several million years BC, before humans even existed on Earth. Their planet of Cybertron had become decimated, and both factions had been reduced to scavenging for needed supplies, primarily energy. The Autobots leave their planet on a spaceship, and the Decepticons follow them in their own vessel. While the Decepticons board the Autobot ship, a battle breaks out, and with nobody controlling the ship, it crashes into prehistoric Earth and knocks the Transformers unconscious. Millions of years later, in 1984, the dormant volcano the Autobot ship had crashed on becomes active. The eruption resets the ship's computer, which deploys a probe to study the planet. The computer learns that the planet is inhabited, and in order to survive first contact, the computer both repairs the disabled Transformers and reconfigures them with physical forms based on the vehicles and machines of human origin. The Transformers are now able to hide by changing into the vehicles or devices in case humans turn out to be hostile. This initial premise in all three media of toys, TV series, and comics became more cosmic in scale. More stories began to be set in outer space and on alien worlds, especially after the Transformers the movie. Additional story elements are also added to the series, such as establishing the origins of the Transformers race, a cruel and coldly logical race of alien squid-like creatures with 5 faces and tentacles, known as the Quintessons, who were the creators of the Autobots and Decepticons. They also created a gigantic factory that would become Cybertron. Eventually, the design of the robots would become so sophisticated that they developed emotions, self-awareness, and the machines went into rebellion, known as the First Cybertronian War. After successfully seizing control of Cybertron, the robots lived in peace until the Decepticons could not resist or overcome their innate desire for military campaign and attempted a coup. The Autobots only overcame the Decepticons in the Second Cybertronian War by developing transformation to hide as mundane objects, vehicles, or tools. After copying the transformation ability of the Autobots and creating a newer leader named Megatron, the Decepticons launched into a third Cybertronian war that would see Cybertron ruined, at which point the TV series begins. 2 characters, each the greatest leader of his side, became the most iconic representatives of the series: Optimus Prime of the Autobots and Megatron of the Decepticons. After the feature film, Megatron was reformed as Galvatron, and Optimus Prime was replaced for the majority of the 3rd season by Rodimus Prime, only to return at the end. Both Optimus Prime and Megatron continued to appear in one form or another in subsequent Transformers series, where they maintained their leadership roles. The first series features 28 characters in all, 18 Autobots and 10 Decepticons. Optimus Prime is the Autobot commander and transforms into a tractor-trailer truck, specifically a Freightliner COE 1980. While in its robot form, the toy consists of 3 separate parts: the main figure, which transforms into the cabin of the truck, an Autobot headquarters, which transforms into the tractor-trailer, serves as the combat deck, and includes a mechanic/artillery robot, and a small scout car named Roller, which launches from the Autobot headquarters. The 11 Autobot cars consist of Bluestreak, Hound, Ironhide, Jazz, Mirage, Prowl, Ratchet, Sideswipe, Sunstreaker, Trailbreaker, and Wheeljack. Bluestreak, the gunner, transforms into a Datsun Fairlady 280ZX. Hound, the scout, transforms into a Mitsubishi J59 Jeep. Ironhide, who serves as security, transforms into a 1980 Nissan one-box Cherry Vanette. Jazz, the special operations expert, transforms into a 1976 Porsche 935 Martini. Mirage, the spy, transforms into a Ligier JS11 Formula One racer. Prowl, the military strategist, transforms into a Datsun Fairlady 280ZX police cruiser. Ratchet, the medic, transforms into a Nissan one-box ambulance Vanette. Sideswipe, a warrior, transforms into a Lamborghini Countach prototype crafted from the LP500S model. Sunstreaker, who is Sideswipe's twin brother, and is also a warrior, transforms into a Lamborghini Countach LP500S. Trailbreaker, the defense strategist, transforms into a Toyota Hilux four-wheel drive, and Wheeljack, the mechanical engineer, transforms into a Lancia Stratos Turbo 539 Alitalia. Almost all of the first-year Autobot cars were nearly identical in appearance to their Diaclone counterparts, with the exception of Bluestreak and Ironhide. All box art as well as catalog and instructions for Bluestreak show how a blue Fairlady Z with silver hood. The toy itself was only sold in solid silver. There has been rumors of a blue Bluestreak being released in the US market, but no boxed examples have been identified. Ironhide is a red Nissan one-box Cherry Vanette, and the Diaclone version was black. The 6 Autobot minicars consisted of Brawn, Bumblebee, Cliffjumper, Gears, Huffer, and Windcharger. Brawn, who serves in demolitions, transforms into a Land Rover Defender 4x4. Bumblebee transforms into a classic Volkswagen Beetle. Cliffjumper, a warrior, transforms into a Porsche Turbo 924. Gears, who serves as a transport and in reconnaissance, transforms into a four-wheel drive off-road truck. Huffer, the construction engineer, transforms into the cabin of a semi-truck. And Windcharger, a warrior, transforms into a Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. A yellow Familia 1500 XG minicar dubbed Bumblejumper and later known as Bumper was released on Cliffjumper backer cards. No carded examples have been found with the minicar on a Bumblebee backer card. Megatron is the Decepticon leader and can transform into 3 different types of guns: a Walther P-38 handgun, a particle beam cannon, and a telescopic laser cannon. Soundwave is the Decepticon communicator and transforms into a microcassette recorder modeled after the 1980s Sony Walkman. The 5 Decepticon microcassettes are Buzzsaw, Frenzy, Laserbeak, Ravage, and Rumble. Buzzsaw, the spy, resembles a condor while in robot form and came packaged with Soundwave. Laserbeak, who serves as interrogation, also resembles a condor while in robot form and was sold with Frenzy, who is a warrior. Ravage, the saboteur, resembles a jaguar while in robot form and was sold with Rumble, who serves in demolitions. The 3 Decepticon planes are Skywarp, Starscream, and Thundercracker. All 3 of them transform into F-15 Eagles. Skywarp and Thundercracker are both warriors, while Starscream is the aerospace commander. To save production costs in developing separate chassis for multiple toys, many of the G1 Transformers are simply repainted or re-accessorized clones of one another. As the series moved farther along beyond the first 2 series, and new characters were introduced, this replication became fewer and farther between. The newer toys tended to share thematic processes, such as the Headmaster and Target Master lines, but the physical manipulation of the toy to transform it between modes was generally unique to that character. The Series 2 features reissued versions of all the toys from Series 1 and also introduced 76 new toys. Although in a broad sense, 43 of these new toys are Autobots and 31 of them are Decepticons. The branding for the toy line became much more specific during this series as various subgroups began to be introduced. As such, only 35 of these new toys were standard Autobots and only 18 of them are standard Decepticons. Of the other new toys, 5 are branded as Dinobots, 3 are branded as Omnibots, 6 are branded as Constructicons, and 7 are branded as Insecticons. The Dinobots and Omnibots are both subgroups of the Autobots, while the Constructicons and Insecticons are both subgroups of the Decepticons. Each following series of Generation 1 introduced more subgroups to the toy line and continued to practice established by Series 2 of aligning those with names ending in the suffix bots with the Autobots and those with the names ending in the suffix con with Decepticons. Rounding out the 76 new toys to the series are the first 2 accessories of the toy line to be individually sold. All of the toys released during Series 2, both those that were new to the series as well as the reissued versions of Series 1 toys, featured heat-sensitive rub signs. These would reveal whether the Autobot logo or the Decepticon logo upon being rubbed. Intended as a means of authentication, they were introduced in response to similar, though inferior, bootleg toys that were being released at the time. Can you find the black square label on your Transformer? Rub the label, watch the robot face appear. This is your evidence that the robot is a true Transformer. Operating explanation for the heat-sensitive rub signs, as found in the instruction booklets for the toys that were new to Series 2 and in brochures that were included with the reissues of Series 1 toys. Series 2 features 7 new Autobot cars. They consist of Grapple, Hoist, Inferno, Red Alert, Skids, Smokescreen, and Tracks. Grapple, the architect, transforms into a crane. Hoist, who serves in maintenance, transforms into a Toyota Hilux 4-wheel drive tow truck model. Inferno, who serves in search and rescue, transforms into a fire engine. Red Alert, the security director, transforms into a fire chief's Lamborghini Countach. Skids, the theoretician, transforms into a Honda City Turbo. Smokescreen, the diversionary tactician, transforms into a 1979 custom Datsun 280ZX, and Tracks, a warrior, transforms into a 1980 Chevrolet Corvette. Series 2 features 5 new Autobot minicars. They consist of Beachcomber, Cosmo, Powerglide, Sea Spray, and Warpath. Beachcomber, the geologist, transforms into a dune buggy. Cosmo, who serves in reconnaissance and communication, transforms into a flying saucer. Powerglide, a warrior, transforms into an A-10 Thunderbolt II airplane. Sea Spray, who serves in naval defense, transforms into a hovercraft. And Warpath, a warrior, transforms into a tank. Series 2 features 2 Autobot jump starters, Top Spin and Twin Twist. Both of them transform into spaceships. Top Spin serves in land and sea assault, and Twin Twist serves in demolitions. Series 2 features 2 Autobot deluxe vehicles, Roadbuster and Whirl. Roadbuster, the ground assault commander, transforms into a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and Whirl, who serves in aerial assault, transforms into an AH-1 Cobra helicopter. The 1984 to 1985 lines became the foundation of the Generation 1 series, with all of the classic characters introduced here. The 2 years were actually one single run story-wise and thematically. This is most evident in the first and second seasons of the animated series. The toys made use of molds and designs primarily from the Microchange and Diaclone lines. The 1985 storyline introduced the idea of special subgroup teams like the Dinobots, Constructicons, and Insecticons. Toward the end of the animated series' second season, several characters from the 1986 line were introduced, particularly the Combiner teams. The year 1986 saw Hasbro start using original designs for many characters as fewer Microman and Diaclone molds were recycled. This was a banner year for the toy line as the tie-in animated feature The Transformers the Movie was finally released. While the movie was not the blockbuster Hasbro hoped for, it marked a change in the direction the series in general was taking. The new characters Rodimus Prime and Galvatron replaced Optimus Prime and Megatron in their respective roles. Subgroup teams became prevalent. The number of new characters increased from this year on. The TV series followed the movie and was now set in the future, while the comics storyline continued to be set in present time of the 1980s. Optimus Prime and Megatron were both offered as a movie mail-away. Both figures were identical to their original release with the exception of a more reinforced fist design for Optimus Prime. Both figures came with their standard styrofoam insert, but the box was a plain brown mailer box. Each figure was accompanied with a movie edition certificate and sticker. As the Transformers went on, new characters needed new gimmicks to stand out. As the number of Combiner teams had been reduced, the Headmasters and Target Masters were introduced. Fortress Maximus and Scorponok became leaders of the Autobot and Decepticon forces, respectively. One of the more unusual toys introduced into the year was Six Shot, a Decepticon billed as a solo Transformer assault group, or STAG, having as many as 6 models. This number of modes, 6 modes, not models. This number of modes was unprecedented at the time. Six Shot's instruction leaflet was even sealed shut with a sticker, challenging buyers to figure out all 6 modes without aid. 20 limited edition all-black versions of the Six Shot toy were produced. This is 1987. The animated series had one more season, but only 3 episodes were produced in America due to Sunbow losing its contract and its subsequent inability to renew. Thus, only the comics supported the toy line. In 1988, Transformers continued on, despite having less support, and still managed to introduce a plethora of new characters. New Headmaster and Target Master characters were introduced, but the new driving forces for the line were the Pretenders and Power Masters, which also featured the return of Optimus Prime. 1989, the toy line received a new logo design for its 6th year. The subgrouping idea was changed as characters were now limited to Pretender and Micromaster groups. These 2 groups were further subdivided into thematic teams. A few classic characters were revamped as Pretenders. In 1990, in its final year in the U.S. market, Transformers' last burst was with a more expanded Micromaster line and the introduction of the Action Masters, non-transforming figures of classic characters with transformable vehicles and weapons. In the international market, of the countries Transformers was exported to, Japan and the UK were the only ones to innovate upon the toy line in the interim between 1990 and 1993, before the launch of the next series, Transformers Generation 2. The UK releases, while in general following the American releases and storylines, omitted a fairly large section of the toys from the US line. The UK line was first started branching away from the US line in 1990 with the re-releases of several early toys under the Classics banner. However, it was 1991 when the UK line went in its own unique direction. Though there were only a few characters introduced, they were toys that none of the US audience had ever seen. In the 1991 and 1992 toys also found their way to Asian and Australian markets. The 1991 line did away with the Micromasters, but had additional Action Master characters, in addition to reuses of some of Takara's previous Japanese exclusive molds. 1992 saw the release of the Autobot Turbo Masters, the Decepticon Predators, yellow unnamed versions of the Constructicons, minus the parts to make the Devastator, and recolored versions of 4/6 of the Japanese exclusive Beast Force, simply known collectively as Rescue Force. In early 1993, more exclusive figures were released under the Transformers label, most notably the color-changing Stormtroopers, Lightformers, the Track-Ons, and the Autobot and Decepticon Obliterators. The heads of the Obliterators, Pyro and Clench, were the inspiration for the redesigned Autobot and Decepticon symbols that were used on this year's packaging and later used for Transformers Generation 2. The Japanese toy company Takara, from which Transformers had originated, had the rights to distribute the toys in Japan. Unlike Hasbro UK, Takara had more autonomy for re-releases and storyline that were running concurrent with the American line. For example, several characters appeared that were only exclusive to the Japanese market, and Toei Animation continued the animated series with their own storylines. In 1989, Takara departed from the lineup of characters that Hasbro released that year, choosing instead to use a different set of characters. In 1990, the Micromaster concept was embraced wholeheartedly as the majority of the toys that year and the next were of that nature. 1991 would see more Micromasters released, including the first Micromaster Combiner, alongside 3 larger Battlestars, one of which was Star Convoy, a reborn version of Optimus Prime. Uniquely, the 1991 range in Japan consisted of only Autobot characters. The 92 range in Japan was the final year of Generation 1 and featured several more Micromaster Combiners, recolored versions of Defensor and Bruticus, and the smaller Turbomaster and Predators, which were concurrently released in Europe. 3 publishers had or have the license to produce comic books based on the Transformers. Marvel Comics held the license during the original run of the toy line. Marvel's UK branch also published their own Transformers stories. Dreamweave Productions revived Transformers comics in 2002 but went bankrupt in 2005, forcing a cessation. IDW Publishing picked up the rights soon after. Each publisher to pick up the comics rights all chose to go with their own continuity rather than to continue the hanging storylines from previous publisher. As the comics regularly feature characters dying, this is the only way to get around the use of characters and issues regarding their place in the continuity. Also, the series by Marvel UK used the stories from the US, but as the stories ran weekly, additional stories had to be made to act as a supplement. These UK-only stories often worked in and around the US stories, offering a different experience. In 1986, film critic Richard Martin called the first generation toy series a more fun counterpart to Rubik's Cube in helping children develop their hand-eye coordination and their spatial reasoning skills. But Hasbro kept quiet about this, believing no self-respecting 10-year-old boy would bug his parents half to death to buy him an educational toy. He said, "Kids mastered its difficulties in no times, but it makes grown-ups feel like klutzes." He said the resulting TV show has topped the ratings every week since its debut in 1985, thus setting the stage for The Transformers the Movie, which is designed to sell more toys to more kids. Transformers don't really die, they just become new products. The Legacy of Transformers. Ralston produced breakfast cereals based on the 1980s cartoons, including Transformers chocolate-flavored cereal, similar to Cocoa Puffs. The official International Transformers Convention is BotCon, but other fan events include Auto Assembly and Transforce in the UK, and past Transformers-only events have included BotCon Japan, BotCon Europe, and the official Transformers Collectors Convention. The first large convention for Transformers in the Nordic countries was called the NTFA Minicon, which, with official support from Hasbro Nordic, was held by members of the Nordic Trans Fans Association for the first time on November 3rd and 4th of 2007. The second NTFA convention with official support from Hasbro Nordic was renamed NordCon to avoid copyright problems with the name Minicon, and held in Aalborg, Denmark from June 19th to the 20th, 2010. It featured Simon Furman as a guest of honor. In 2011, NordCon and Auto Assembly joined forces to create a new convention called Auto Assembly Europe, which first took place in Uppsala, Sweden, November 2011. A Transformers Hall of Fame was created in 2010. The BotCon 2010 inauguration included Bob Budiansky, Peter Cullen, Hideki Yoki, Ono Kojin, and the characters Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Megatron, Starscream, and the Dinobots. The Transformers is an animated television series that originally aired from September 17th, 1984 to November 11th, 1987, in syndication based upon Hasbro's and Takanara's Transformers toy line. The first television series in the Transformers franchise, it depicts a war among giant robots that can transform into vehicles and other objects. The series was produced by Marvel Productions and Sunbow Productions in association with Japanese studio Toei Animation, for first-run syndication. Toei was co-produced the show as the main animation studio for its first 2 seasons, having been tasked with creating and finalizing animation models, designing transformation schemes, storyboarding some episodes, and general direction. In the 3rd season, Toei's involvement with the production team was reduced and the animation services were shared with the South Korean studio ACOM. The show's supervising producer was also ACOM's founder. The 4th season was entirely animated by ACOM. The series was supplemented by a feature film, The Transformers, the movie, in 1986, taking place between the 2nd and 3rd seasons. This series is also popularly known as Generation 1, a term originally coined by fans in response to the rebranding of the franchise as Transformers Generation 2 in 1992, which eventually made its way into official use. The series was later shown to reruns on the Sci-Fi Channel and the Hub/Discovery family. The Transformers storyline and animated series were inspired by the Japanese toy line Microman, an Eastern descendant of the 12-inch G.I. Joe action figure series, by Takara. In 1980, the Microman spin-off Diaclone was released, featuring inch-tall humanoid figures able to sit in the driver's seats of scale model vehicles, which could transform into humanoid robot bodies the drivers piloted. Later still, in 1983, a Microman subline Micro Change was introduced, featuring actual-size items that transformed into robots, such as microcassettes, guns, and toy cars. Diaclone and Micro-Change toys were subsequently discovered at the 1983 Tokyo Toy Fair by Hasbro Toy Company product developer Henry Orenstein, who presented the concept to Hasbro's head of R&D, George Dunzy. Enthusiastic about the product, it was decided to release toys from both the Diaclone and Microchange as one storyline and toy line for the markets, although there were eventual changes to the color schemes from the original toys to match the new series. By 1984, U.S. regulators had removed any of the restrictions regarding the placement of promotional content within children's television programming. The way was cleared for the new product-based television program. Hasbro had previously worked with Marvel Comics to develop G.I. Joe, a real American hero, for a three-pronged marketing scheme: the toy line, a tie-in comic book by Marvel, and an animated miniseries co-produced by Marvel's media arm, Marvel Productions, and the Griffin Bacall advertising agency's Sunbow Productions production house. Given the success of that strategy, the process was repeated in 1984 when Hasbro marketing vice president Bob Prupus approached Marvel to develop their new robot series, which Jay Bacall dubbed Transformers. Marvel's editor-in-chief at the time, Jim Shooter, produced a rough story concept for the series, creating an idea of the two warring factions of alien robots, the heroic Autobots and the evil Decepticons. To flesh out his concept, Shooter called upon the veteran editor Dennis O'Neil to create character names and profiles for the cast, but O'Neill's work did not meet with Hasbro's expectations, and they requested heavy revisions. O'Neil declined to make said revisions, and the project was turned down by several writers and editors approached by Shooter until editor Bob Budiansky accepted the task. Hastily performing the revisions over a weekend, Budiansky's new names and profiles were a hit with Hasbro, and production began on a bi-monthly 4-issue comic book miniseries and 3-part television pilot. Both comic and cartoon would wind up continuing for years beyond these short-term beginnings, using Budiansky's original development work as a springboard to tell the story of the Transformers in very different ways from one another, forming two separate, unrelated continuities for the brand out of the gate. Japanese designer Shohei Kahara was responsible for creating the earliest character models for the Transformers cast, greatly humanizing the toy designs to create more approachable robot characters for the comic and cartoon. His designs were subsequently simplified by Floro Dury, who went on to become the lead designer for the series, creating many more concepts and designs in the future. This series focuses on the Transformers, split into two warring factions, the heroic Autobots and the evil Decepticons, as they crash land on Earth and continue their eons-long conflict there. The pilot miniseries. The 3-part pilot miniseries, retroactively titled More Than Meets the Eye, first aired in the United States September of 1984. The story follows Optimus Prime's heroic Autobots and Megatron's evil Decepticons as they leave their metallic homeworld of Cybertron to search for new sources of energy to revitalize their war efforts, only to crash land on Earth, where they remain entombed and offline for 4 million years. Awakening in the year 1984, the Decepticons set out pillaging the energy resources of Earth, while the Autobots, aided by human father and son duo Sparkplug and Spike Witwicky, attempt to protect the new world on which they find themselves. The miniseries concludes with the Decepticons believed dead after their space cruiser is sent plunging into the ocean depths, while the Autobots prepare to return to Cybertron. Season 1. The 13-episode first season, commissioned and produced before the pilot miniseries aired, was broadcast between October and December on Saturday mornings. Story editing at Marvel Productions by Bryce Malek and Dick Robbins. The season begins with the revelation that the Decepticons have survived the events of the pilot and follows them as they set out constructing a space bridge to teleport resources back to Cybertron. A loose story arc centered on this technology spans the season, culminating in the Ultimate Doom, a 3-part episode in which the Decepticons teleport Cybertron itself into Earth's orbit. The paraplegic computer expert Chip Chase joins Spike and Sparkplug as the new human ally for the Autobots. The season also introduced several new characters from the upcoming 1985 product line in advance of their toys release, including Skyfire, the Dinobots, the Insecticons, and the first combiner team, the Constructicons, who are able to merge into a giant robot, the Devastator, whose introduction was set alongside a climactic one-on-one duel between Optimus Prime and Megatron that served as part of the season finale. 49 further episodes were commissioned for the show's second season in 1985, bringing the total up to the magic number of 65 required to move the series into the weekday broadcast syndication. Compared to the first season, Season 2's stories are more episodic, with many of them able to air in whatever order other networks chose. Episodes would often spotlight individual characters or groups of characters as a means of promoting their toys, and later in the season, the lore of the series would be expanded on as the history of Cybertron and the origin of Optimus Prime were discovered, and significant cartoon original characters like Alpha Trion and the first female Transformer characters were introduced. A new recurring human cast member was also added in the form of Spike's girlfriend Carly. Partway into the season, the remainder of the 1985 product line was introduced, mostly through 2-part episode Dinobot Island. These new characters, like the first year's cast, were largely derived from Takara's Diaclone and Microchange lines, including new Autobot car and mini vehicles and Decepticon jets, and the giant Autobot Sentinel Omega Supreme and the Decepticon triple changers, Astro Change and Blitzwing. To expand the line, however, Hasbro also licensed several toys from other companies, including Takara's Japanese competitor, Bandai. Legal complications that arose from incorporating the first of these, Skyfire, into the first season resulted in the character quickly being phased out early in Season 2 and meant that none of the other Bandai-derived characters featured in the series. Toward the end of the season, the first 1986 product was introduced into the series: the Aerial Bots, Stunticons, Protectobots, and Combaticons, 4 combiner teams based on an unmade Diaclone line that was aborted in Japan in favor of importing the Transformers toy line itself. To promote these new toys even further in Japanese markets, a single Japanese exclusive episode, Transformers Scramble City, was released direct-to-video in the spring of 1986. The Transformers the Movie is a 1986 animated science fiction action film based on the Transformers television series. It was released in North America on August 8, 1986, and in the United Kingdom on December 12, 1986. It was co-produced and directed by Nelson Shin, who also produced the television series. The screenplay was written by Ron Friedman, who created Bionic 6 a year later. The film features the voices of Eric Idle, Judd Nelson, Leonard Nimoy, Casey Kasem, Robert Stack, Lionel Stander, John Mochidia Jr., Scatman Crothers, Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, and Orson Welles, who died 10 months before the film's release in his final film role. The soundtrack comprises electronic music composed by Vince DiCola and songs from rock and heavy metal acts including Stan Bush and Weird Al Yankovic. The story is set in 2005, 20 years after the TV series' second season. After a Decepticon assault devastates Autobot City, Optimus Prime wins a deadly one-on-one duel with Megatron, but ultimately sustains fatal injuries in the encounter. With Megatron gravely injured, the Decepticons are forced to retreat, saving the Autobots. The Autobots are hunted across the galaxy by Unicron, a planet-sized transformer intending to consume Cybertron, and who transfigures Megatron to become the enslaved Galvatron. Hasbro's exclusively toy-focused agenda demanded a product refresh to be contrived by the on-screen death of many prominent starring characters, at the protest of some of the creators of the film and TV series. The deaths of many established characters, especially Optimus Prime, inadvertently upset the young audience, prompting a letter-writing campaign. At the time of its release, the film underperformed at the box office and received generally negative reviews for its plot and violent deaths, while praising the animation, voice acting, and score. Over time, perceptions of the film has improved, and it has gained a cult following. Season 3 picks up where the movie leaves off, with the Autobots now in control of Cybertron once more, working to restore their homeworld and serving as peacemakers for worlds across the galaxy. The Decepticons, meanwhile, are in exile on the ruined world of Char, led now by Galvatron. Interconnected episodes running plot threads and small story arcs become more common in the series, including the return of Starscream, following his death in the movie, as a ghost, frequent battles between the giant Autobot and Decepticon cities of Metroplex and Triptychon, and the threat to both sides posed by the alien Quintessons, introduced in the movie and revealed in the season premiere miniseries 5 Faces of Darkness, to be the true creators of the Transformers. This season also saw the debut of 3 new combiners: the Predacons, the Terracons, and the Technobots. This season saw story editing duties transfer from Marvel Productions to Sunbow, overseen by Flint Dill, Marv Wolfman, and Steve Gerber. Animation for around half the season was provided by producer Nielsen Shin's animation studio ACOM, creating a different look for the show that encompassed its opening sequence and commercial bumpers. The death of Optimus Prime proved a controversial move and did not sit well with the viewing audience, resulting in a letter-writing campaign that ultimately compelled Hasbro to resurrect the Autobot leader in a 2-part season finale called The Return of Optimus Prime, which aired in March of 1987. Optimus Prime was revived with the help of Quintesson during the threat of the Hate Plague. The 4th season, consisting of a 3-part finale miniseries named The Rebirth, was broadcast in November 1987. Written by regular series writer David Wise, the Autobots and Decepticons encounter the alien world of Nebulos, where they bond with the native Nebulans to become headmasters and target masters. The Nebulans, led by the evil Lord Zarak, were able to transform the animal Decepticons with Scourge and Cyclonus into headmasters, while some of their weapons were transformed into target masters. While Lord Zarak was able to become the headmaster of his creation, Scorponok, Spike Witwicky was able to operate the headmaster unit so that he can control Fortress Maximus to fight Scorponok. The miniseries concluded with the successful restoration of Cybertron, but the Decepticon threat not yet finished, as Galvatron and Lord Zarak argue over who will rule the galaxy upon their victory over the Autobots. The Transformers did not disappear from American airwaves as a 5th season aired in 1988. It consisted of reruns of 15 episodes from the original series, along with the Transformers the movie edited into 5 episodes. This season featured a new title sequence with footage from the previous episodes, the movie, and toy commercials, as well as new framing scenes featuring a human boy named Tommy Kennedy, portrayed by actor Jason Jensen, and a stop-motion machine prop Optimus Prime puppet, operated by Sesame Street veteran Martin P. Robinson. From 1991 to 1995, select episodes of the series were rebroadcast under the title Transformers Generation 2. The stories were presented as though they were historical recordings displayed by the Cybernet Space Cube, which added computer-generated borders and scene transitions to the original animation. The story was later continued in Transformers Generation 2 Redo, or Redux, a BotCon magazine that is set 22 years after the events of the final episode, where the first generation of Autobots led by Optimus Prime pursue Galvatron and Zarok into deep space, and a new generation of Autobots and Decepticons are introduced. Each of the first 3 seasons of the series featured its own tailored opening sequence, featuring completely original animation and a unique arrangement of the theme tune. Additionally, the 3rd season premiere, 5 Faces of Darkness, had its own specialized opening, depicting events that occurred in the miniseries. The 4th season, however, did not feature any new animation in its opening sequence, instead combining footage from the 3rd season opening and various clips of animation from the 1987 toy commercials. Likewise, the 5th season featured commercial animation mixed with the footage of the Transformers the movie. Both used the Season 3 musical arrangement. The series featured a distinctive scene transition that saw the Autobot and Decepticon symbols flipping from one to the other, accompanied by a distinctive 5-note refrain. This transition technique became a hallmark of the series and was used throughout the entire 4-year run. Commercial breaks were segued into and out of using commercial bumpers featuring brief, eye-catching style original animation with a voiceover by series narrator Victor Caroli. A set of 5 proposed public service announcements were created to be tagged onto the end of the episodes from the 2nd season of the series, reusing the scripts from similar PSAs created for sister series G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, complete with the catchphrase, "And knowing is half the battle." These were never actually aired on television, but eventually appeared as bonus features on various DVDs and video games. For the 3rd season, episodes were tagged with The Secret Files of Teletran 2, a series of short featurettes that used clips from the Now show and new narration from Caroli to provide histories for the Autobots and the Decepticons, Quintessons, and other subjects. As a kid in the 80s, I remember watching the Transformers TV show, and my siblings and I each had a Transformers toy, but I couldn't tell you which ones they were. I remember that mine was mostly red, but it wasn't Optimus Prime. My sibling didn't have Optimus Prime either because our parents didn't want us fighting over the toys. Our total build time today is 3 hours, 10 minutes, and 1 second. We got through 8 episodes and 8 minutes, 7 seconds of the 9th episode. This biomechanical space machine is going to kick off my series of space builds. Remember to like, subscribe, ring that bell, all the things for the YouTubes.